I completely forgot that I was doing bits at the beginning of Doctor Who episodes now. Oh well. Hey guys, Alex from 7th Hour Films back again with Doctor Who. Flux, to be more specific. Last time on Doctor Who we had Chapter 1 of Flux, the Halloween Apocalypse, where the Doctor and Yaz ended up going to Earth after chasing this guy. What was his name? It was Carvanista, wasn't it? Yeah, Carvanista. This dog dude who informed the Doctor about the incoming Flux, which was created by or unleashed. I'm not really sure, actually. But it has to do, basically, it's related to this dude named Swarm, who appears to have been an old enemy of the Timeless Child. So, yeah. And then, so Carvanista goes to Earth, finds his designated human, Dan. Then the Doctor and Yaz save Dan, despite the fact that Carvanista and his race are there to help the humans. And then they shield the Earth from the Flux. And then Jacob Anderson is there, and then the Flux starts to get into the TARDIS, and that was the cliffhanger. Also, there's a Weeping Angel and Sontarans and all sorts of stuff. So, yeah. And that was pretty much that. A very chaotic Chapter 1, but, I mean, it set things up, and now let's see where they're going to go with it. So, yeah, that's pretty much a decent enough recap. So let's go ahead and get right into this episode of Doctor Who Flux. Here we go. Whoop. Oh no, someone turned off the color. What the... Uh-oh. The Flux is a Tim Burton movie, apparently.
Where are you from?
I'm the Doctor. This is Raz. This is Dan. Nice to meet you. We were checking for signs of life.
Sure, doctor is a man's term.
Yeah. So, we are back in time.
All of them dead.
They're not just retro.
1850s.
Oh, okay.
Oriented. I know where we are. Crimean War, 1855. Ottoman Empire weakening.
Okay.
British soldiers. Mary Seacole. Are you? You are, aren't you?
Mrs. Seacole to you. Doctress to the fallen.
Doctress.
They're not fighting Russians.
Oh no, it's the Sontarans, not the Russians. Oh, so they've been here a while then.
Taste the victory, my soldiers. Breathe in the rotting stench of our vanquished foes. Onward, Sontar!
Sontar-Ha! Oh. That's awesome. Alright. Man, the Russians are gone.
So let me just get this straight. She's like a real person from history.
You just talked to her, didn't you?
Yeah.
Those Sontaran things, they're not part of history.
They shouldn't be.
No, she should be here. They shouldn't. Are you okay?
Whoa.
Doctor! You're fading.
Well, you're fading.
Yes, stay calm. I will find
Okay,
you.
so they're not being erased.
I promise.
They're just being separated. Oh, dang it, where's the door? Oh, no.
Let me in.
Oh, come on, baby, let us in. Go through the window. Whoa. Oh. Has he been sent to a new future? History has been rewritten.
Ma'am? Dad?
Where the hell have you been?
Nuh. Hello.
Can you repair?
Yeah,
Was that what would the Doctor do, really?
that's exactly why I'm here.
Okay, I get that. Why the hell is that on her hand? That's the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
Crimean there, and Russia is
Sontar.
not there.
It takes his rest in a regular rhythm. 7.5 minutes every 27 hours. I recorded it.
I
Wow.
shall massacre you for revealing privileged military information.
The rest of the
It's
time,
so good to have that
yes.
actor back
No
again.
wonder you're angry. But what if I have valuable battle information for your commander?
What sort of information?
The Doctor.
Ah!
Vanquisher and sworn enemy of the Sontaran.
They still know the Doctor.
I'd be prepared to give your commander information on the Doctor's whereabouts, should he agree to parlay on my signal.
Parlay.
You allowed an enemy combatant to escape!
I discharged my patient. The British Hotel is my establishment, General. And you are my guest.
Alright, good.
What's that? 2 days ago now?
Okay.
Already feels like a month.
Oh, millions. All over the world, in their ships.
So this isn't because of the past.
And taking it.
And they go down like 9p.
You found that out?
Oh, fella in Birkenhead.
He was drunk. With a mallet.
Nuh.
Birkenhead.
They went all around the world, but they started here.
When
Why?
you say here, where exactly do you mean?
Well, I gotta say, Dan's doing well for having been in this for, what, an hour or so?
You two, get back to the house. I'm going in.
By yourself?
It's better that way.
It's a brave man.
Take this, son.
You've earned it.
The Guardian priests, we maintain the temple of Atropos on the planet of time.
The planet of time.
Passes through the mori. Time ran wild to harness the mori were assigned.
Signed by who?
Information unavailable.
Huh.
If the time is distraction, the mori are control. They must not break. Time must not be unleashed.
You talk about time as if it was a force.
Time is evil, and it will seek its own.
The Flux? Wait, so they are broken, thus the Flux is happening?
Temporal offensive is near, soldiers.
Temporal offensive, okay. So, see, they need to be doing this. I wish they were doing this more. But alright, temporal offensive. So they're specifically doing this in multiple times.
Parlay.
Parlay. Damn the bastard who came up with parlay.
This planet has defied us ever since the great Commander Lynx first staked his claim on the ground of its feeble soil. We now assert that claim. Earth shall be an outpost
I
of
wonder if that's
Sontaran
the-
Empire.
I wonder if that's a classic episode.
The Crimean skirmish seems the perfect place to start. So much conflict, so much opportunity. And
Okay.
also, I wanted to ride a horse.
Really? That's it.
Planet now. There will be no battle. I speak on behalf of all of humanity.
I speak for the trees.
You do not.
What are you doing?
Raise your arms above your head, or be shot as a traitor immediately.
Go.
God damn it.
No one does.
Kid, just go.
This is devastating as you're imagining.
Nuh.
Bravely went there. And I'm sorry.
Up.
You'll still be alive.
God, I hope so.
Options blocked off.
I'm filming this for you, Doctor. They've turned Liverpool docks into some sort of space shipyard. I reckon I can get into one.
And do what? I can't believe he's filming all this shit. He's got a phone in one hand and a pan in the other. It's ridiculous. I want him to, like, do trick shots with that thing. Like, have it ricochet and hit people. No shit. He's here.
I remember that.
They're here.
I am fuel,
Oh.
and I am your death.
Wow, it really is fucking Shigaraki that just decay shit. Wow.
How Atropos. Where it all began. And will all begin again.
Ah, dang it, Pokemon 2.
How it all began, and how I'll begin again.
These poor fucking soldiers. That dude's just carrying the flag. Even in a normal battle, that's a shit position. Whoop. Get a stick. Or a slingshot.
Get in.
You gotta love the shit she has.
Doctor! Where are you?
Still in the Crimea.
Where's Yaz?
I don't know. You
Speak first.
One at a
How are
time.
you on a Sontaran ship?
I've got this obsession with Japanese food. Heard one of the chief potato heads talking about tempura command.
Oh, damn. God damn it.
Tempura offensive.
Temporal.
What's that all about?
Could it have been temporal command? Temporal is in time.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that makes more sense.
Yeah, it does, Dan.
They're building time ships so they can invade Earth's history.
Yeah.
And the Crimea is the pilot scheme.
Oh, okay.
From a Sontaran outpost from the dawn of time.
Huh.
The whole history erased.
Oh, jeez.
You better make sure you stop it.
Bleh.
Is that?
You have to stop those ships leaving.
How am I supposed to do that?
What resources do you have?
A walk?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, what?
A walk.
Why have you got to walk?
Me man for hitting them on the trophy thingy.
Facing the rules
Ah!
and missions.
Good luck, Dan.
Oh,
Right, Mrs. Seacole? We both have a lot of work to do.
Godspeed.
That's your boss, your commander, like, there he is.
Ha!
How'd you like that, eh? Pan-fried Sontaran.
Good job, Dan.
Walk right out of here.
Oh my god. He's so stupid.
Alright, lad. I was just looking for the pyramid.
I freaking love Dan. Oh my gosh.
That message in pen on the palm of your hand that no one knows about. WWTDD.
What would the doctor do?
Prepare for execution! Ready! Aim!
Oh, the walk!
I don't think so.
Huh? Ah!
Human in this fight.
Yes! Yay, Carvanista!
I don't know what to do. Help me.
And now you want the help.
I'm gonna need a pointy stick.
Duh. You are lucky that she is not that spiteful.
What we're gonna do is empty their ships of those supplies. Forcing a retreat out of the Crimea back to the 21st century, where my best person will be there to deal with them. Hopefully.
That's putting a lot on Dan, though.
6.9 minutes left.
Okay, let's get going. Nice. Jalen, you better not fuck this up.
Warned you this planet was protected. Now retreat.
That word shall never pass my lips. We shall make a strategic withdrawal,
Duh.
but we shall return.
It's the old Joestar technique.
Hit the road, Skak.
But like a bean burrito, he shall return.
Hurry up!
Oh, I hope he still has the walk. Oh, this is so stupid. And you gotta hope everyone's still, like, everyone jumps back. Oh my god, did they just jump out? Oh! Oh, it's like the end of Avatar. What are you doing?
I recommend you run.
Run, Doctor! Run!
Oh, he's blowing it all.
This is for my men.
Oh my god, so much fire.
That was for the men I lost today.
For your guilt, you mean?
Yeah,
Sometimes
you
men
led them
don't
there.
know why I bother with humanity.
Oh.
I hope we meet again.
Is the TARDIS ready to open the door?
I'm here. What is this thing happening to you?
Poor thing.
You made it back.
And you got rid of the Sontarans.
It's pretty easy, really. I worked it all out by myself.
No.
Until Scooby-Doo here tried to take all the credit.
You wanna come?
Okay. Welcome aboard.
Not done with you yet.
Officially.
We're going out the floor.
Ugh.
These things new?
Yeah.
What the?
You were here a second ago. Something's corrupted the TARDIS.
Oh no. Whoop. Uh-oh, she's flying herself. She flies now.
On the planet Time.
The planet
There is no planet
Time.
called Time.
Ah, shit.
Full force of time will blast through them. How many seconds will their bodies be able to take before they die, Doctor?
2. Stop. You don't have to do this. Tell me what you want. 1.
All in good time.
Oh no! Ah! Oh shit. Oh no! Alrighty, that is chapter 2. Okay, that, this is... Wow, this is very interesting, isn't it, you know? I will say, I mean, it's going to be very interesting looking back on this when this season is done, you know? Because it's very fascinating to watch this now, because I feel like, honestly, Doctor Who, we just don't do this in the modern day, you know? But, like, the cliffhangers and the different things going on, like, it does kind of feel a little classic to me, you know? A bit chaotic. A bit more chaotic than some of the classic serials. But still, like, just... I don't know. I'm really digging this one continuous story, you know? And I know that was the original plan. They were originally going to do that for Matt Smith, weren't they? Before he decided to exit the show. They were going to do that. Or at least that was an idea. But this, honestly, this is really interesting. And I gotta say, despite the fact that this is, you know, one continuous story, I like it still somewhat keeping episodic, you know? Like, this whole thing with the Sontarans, like, I would imagine the Sontarans are gonna come back, but if they don't, I don't know, I almost want to say this episode is almost a filler episode, but it's not. It is and it isn't. Like, I don't feel like we've learned too much, you know? I don't feel like we really learned anything about the Flux or Swarm or anything like that. So, yeah, this episode was just sort of something else that happened within this story, you know? Which is interesting. It's very interesting. I don't know. I'll have to... When this season is done, we'll definitely look back and decide if this is filler or not. But I don't want to say that, you know? I don't want to call this filler, you know? And when I say filler, I should mention that that's not necessarily a bad thing, you know? Like, this was a very interesting episode. Like, I could see, honestly, this episode being a sort of one-off episode in a previous season, you know, where it's like, oh, well, the Doctor and the gang, they have to deal with, you know, they wind up in the Crimean War, and they go through and, you know, they're sent back to the present day, and they're dealing with stuff. Like, I could imagine if this wasn't in the Flux storyline, I could see this being, you know, Dan and Yaz are sent to the future, sent to the present day, where they deal with the present day Sontarans, while the Doctor deals with, you know, the 1850s Sontarans. Or even if this was back, you know, I could see maybe Yaz and Graham, and then the Doctor and Ryan being separated like that. But as it stands, does this really have anything to do with the Flux? At present, no. This was almost like a side quest, basically, that the Doctor and the gang had to go through, you know? Because none of that affected the TARDIS. Whatever is going on the planet of time is affecting the TARDIS, which is interesting. Which, the whole thing with the Mori, the Mori and the Temple of Atropos, and they basically keep time under control. It's kind of reminded me of Loki a little bit, with the TVA and the One Who Remains and stuff like that. I will say, it does feel a little, I don't know. We're going to have to learn more about this, you know? I don't want to make any decisions right now, but I will say this is a bit odd, you know? I don't know. They seem to be like temporal gods, basically. Temporal gods who like control time, but that doesn't seem to be like, it doesn't seem to be like time, like they write all of time. Because that was the thing, spoiler alert, in Loki. That was the thing in Loki where it's like, oh, all of time, like there's no free will or anything like that. And it doesn't seem like they're going quite to that point, but I don't know. They could go to that point. I don't know if they're going to. We'll have to see. I definitely need more of an explanation on the Mori before I can make a judgment call about this. But at the same time, it also does sort of seem like something that could be related to the Time Lords, you know? Or even just the Division, you know? Like maybe, pure speculation here, maybe the Mori are the basis of the Division, you know? I mean, it's an interesting thing. I guess we have to think about no, I'm getting a call. Well, screw it. I'm not answering. We have to think about the Division in terms of the Time Lords, you know? Like, the Time Lords, which I guess I can never pinpoint, like, I'm trying to, like, pin down the Time Lords and the Division now. And I'm trying to relate that to the Mori. I guess that's where we're starting off this discussion is, if you try to pin down, like, what are the Time Lords? The Time Lords, and this is going off of stuff that I'm, you know, starting to pick up in my classic reactions. If you haven't watched those, definitely go watch it. If you haven't watched those classic episodes, go from, if you want to, like, I guess learn about the Time Lords, you know, you start from the end of the Second Doctor's era, which is the War Games, and, you know, you kind of go from there. You can get more and more, slowly, yes, but you will start to get more and more information about the Time Lords. But even then, you can sort of work off of that just if you've seen the modern episodes. So, and again, I haven't seen all the classic episodes, so I can't say for all of it, but from what I can pin on the Time Lords is that the Time Lords are this, you know, super advanced race. They go and they observe time, but that's it. That's the whole thing. They only observe time. The Doctor was different. The Doctor went and actually witnessed time. You know, the Doctor was not content with just looking at time, or not even just like viewing it, observing it from a distance, but really going in and exploring time and everything. Then you get differences of like the Master who, you know, the Master wants to, you know, go in and disrupt time to, you know, their advantage basically. But that's the whole thing. So you look at that with the Time Lords, and I would honestly probably say, so that's how I would kind of pin down the Time Lords. Now, trying to pin down the Division is very difficult because we're working on very little information. You know, the Division, which in terms of the episodes, the Division has only been introduced to us about 3 episodes ago, pretty much, you know? Or, maybe did they mention the Division in Fugitive of the Jadoon? They might have in relation to the Fugitive Doctor, but I can't remember. But either way, it hasn't been too long that we've heard of the Division. So I'm trying to pin down the Division based on my very limited knowledge. And this is all going to tie back into the Mori, so give me a second. I'm working things through, basically. So the Division, if I were to guess, if I were to try to pin down what the Division is, I would say that the Division is a group of Time Lords that does interfere, you know? And because that's the thing, is that when you look back at sorry, my the backup battery on my computer just turned on. I don't know why. Everything seems to be fine. Anyway, but if you look back at some of the classic episodes, one of the most recent episodes that my dad and I watched, the reactions are not up yet, but one of the most recent episodes we watched was Colony in Space. And in that, spoiler alert, in that, the Time Lords basically allow the Doctor to leave his exile on Earth in order to go stop the Master, basically. And so what it seems like is, and they say in, like, the war games and stuff, like, well, you know, the Doctor, we may have use for your interfering and stuff. You know, you're interfering while we don't necessarily approve. Sometimes it is useful, but you still need to be punished and everything, and thus getting into the exile. But I would imagine that the Division is sort of that they are the ones that interfere, which then it could kind of make sense for the Doctor to be a part of that in some form, you know? The problem is, I feel like the Doctor would sort of go rogue on the actual Division, you know? Which is why I would almost put the Division more with the Timeless Child, you know? Because the Timeless Child definitely feels like a different person. Someone actually came up with a great analogy for the Timeless Child and the Doctor, if you've ever seen Steven Universe. And the whole thing with Steven Universe is that there's, you know, this great mythical, you know, Rose Quartz who has a son, but she completely disappears into her, you know, core gem, and then that gem is basically the core of Steven Universe. So a lot of characters treat Steven like, you know, like he is his mother, Rose Quartz, but it's basically the whole show is taking it to where it's like, well, no, he basically separates himself from his mother. It's like, no, he is a different person. That's how I view the Timeless Child and the Doctor. The Timeless Child, while yes, the Timeless Child basically became the Gallifreyan who became, you know, who would one day go off to become the Doctor. I personally view the Timeless Child and the Doctor as separate, you know? So I could see the Division being more maybe up the alley of the Timeless Child, but not the Doctor. So, all of this, let's bring this discussion back around to the Mori. The Mori, I could almost see as being, while not the writers of time, but like they basically say, the people who keep time under control, basically. And someone, another person in the comments section last episode brought up another good point where they specifically, I believe Swarm specifically said, let me see if I can go find that comment, actually. Oh, excuse me, Jesus. Oh, God. See, this is so much fun because I get to be able to look back. I get to look at what you guys are commenting and theorizing, and I get to use that for what we're talking about, you know? Okay. They say that the flux disrupts matter, not destroys it. So that was a good point that was brought up. In fact, here, let me make sure. I gotta give credit where credit is due here. Oh, I need to get comments I haven't responded. I need comments I have responded to, and okay, let me see. Okay. It was the person who brought up the Steven Universe analogy was Dylan Shadowstar. Shout out to you. And then the person that brought up the Flux, Laura K. I'm shouting you two out. This is where we are in our Doctor Who reactions now, because we all get to theorize together. Isn't that amazing? Anyway, but they do specifically say the flux disrupts matter, not destroys it. So flux, I'm going to say the flux is that sort of, you know, unyieldy time, basically, you know? So maybe, you know, the flux basically occurs when the Mori are damaged. The Mori have been put here in order to keep the flux contained, basically, keep time contained. And with two of them gone, now that unleashes this flux to disrupt matter. Now, with that, the fact of the matter is, too, that the TARDIS was hit by the flux, and it was sent back to the Crimean War in the 1850s, which is interesting. So, by that logic, like, there's no reason, really, that... I mean, you could argue, well, because the TARDIS is so strong, because the TARDIS is the TARDIS, This ain't some normal police box, this is the TARDIS we're talking about, that the flux couldn't destroy it. But then you also think, well, the flux was right there, hit the TARDIS, and then a couple days have passed since Halloween night, and now it's a couple days later where the Sontarans, are... starting to take over and everything in Liverpool. But everything is still there. All the Luparian shields are still there. So by that logic, I would say that everything is still there and that the Earth has now been displaced in history, basically. So maybe that's it, is that none of these planets or anything are necessarily being destroyed, but they are being displaced, So basically that would, from what I could see, is that basically Swarm and the Flux kind of have different powers, where the Flux is maybe displacing things, putting them in the wrong time. Swarm, I think, is destroying things, but that's another thing, and we'll get to that in a bit. The Mori, though, perhaps the Mori and the Temple of Atropos and everything, maybe they are this sort of... maybe like evolved Time Lords, honestly. Like maybe they're the next step of the Time Lords. Like I believe that, if you want to say like, okay, well, everything sort of tracks back to the Timeless Child, but everything else I feel like tracks back to the Time Lords. The Gallifreyans created the Time Lords. The Gallifreyans became Time Lords. The Time Lords created the Division and the Mori. The Mori are keeping a hold of time, basically. Not writing time, maybe not taking away free will or anything, though we'll have to see if they explain that next episode. Maybe not even anything like that, but maybe it's just that they are keeping the time-space continuum intact, Because otherwise, maybe it is too volatile. But now with two of them gone, that has created this flux, and Swarm is taking advantage of it, basically. That's kind of where I would pin the Division and the Mori, is that they are... I don't want to say like, they're higher than Time Lords, but maybe like a different, they're just another sort of branch of the Time Lords, I guess maybe, or just another branch from the Timeless Child. If you want to say like, well, if the tree is the Timeless Child and then there are all these branches, you have the Time Lords, the Division, maybe the Mori, the Gallifreyans themselves. Maybe, although I don't think that's necessarily correct, because I feel like everything else has come from, like, okay, maybe, we're going with a tree analogy, apparently. If the seed is the Timeless Child, the tree is the Time Lords, and everything else branches off from the Time Lords. Did any of that make sense? I think that made sense. We'll have to see next time. We'll have to see how they explain the Mori, but that's kind of my theory going into next episode. We'll have to see. We'll definitely have to see. And I'd be curious what you guys are gonna say. I know these videos are going up the day before, but I would be curious what you guys are going to say. Maybe what your theories about the Mori and the Temple of Atropos are. And another thing, because the Doctor doesn't know about this planet called Time, basically, that honestly sounds like a secret of the Time Lords, It sounds like something that the Time Lords would keep secret, And it's entirely possible that's another thing that the Master knew about. Honestly, actually, now that I bring that up, because, the Master goes through the old files about the Timeless Child, the old Gallifreyan files, and finds the information on the Timeless Child. There's no reason why the Master wouldn't have also found, the stuff about the Mori and the Temple of Atropos and the planet called Time, if they are a part of, the Time Lords and the Division and everything. So I could, what I could almost see? I could almost see this season, like, happens because of the Master, If the Master, like, destroyed two of the Mori, and now the Swarm is taking advantage of it, I could almost see Swarm being unleashed, basically, by the Master in order to destroy the Doctor. I could see that. Maybe we'll get that. Maybe the Master, maybe that'll be it, or, maybe if we don't get that this season, maybe we'll get hints of that, and then, because we do have 3 specials that are going to round us out after this season, so maybe that could then lead into a sort of, I don't want to say a final confrontation with the Master, because there will never be a final confrontation with the Master, but sort of a final confrontation for the 13th Doctor and, Sacha Dhawan's Master, basically. So, maybe. I just spouted out like 8 theories, so let me know what you think of any of them. In terms of the rest of the episode, though, let's go ahead and... some of these, I will say, are, sort of repeat notes, but I'm going to sort of power through them. I don't... excuse me. I don't see us spending too much time talking about the rest of the episode, because while it was good, I enjoyed it, I don't see it playing too much of a role in the rest of the season, basically. Unless the Sontarans come back, which I could see, but for the most part, I almost see this almost as a side quest within the overall story, So, the Sontarans showing up in the Crimean War is very interesting. And, there's no Russia or China, it's just Sontar, which is funny. Let's see, we had Mary Seacole, which clearly a historical figure, which, hey, I guess we had a historical episode in the middle of this. Good on it. I did like it. I guess if you want to count this as one of our historical episodes, this might be one of the weakest of the 13th Doctor's era. The good thing about this is that it does tie into the overall story of the Flux. But at the same time, like, it's pretty standard, I would say, for a sort of historical episode, but a very interesting idea, that the Sontarans are building time ships, and they're going to go through and basically rewrite all of Earth's history so that the Earth will be a Sontaran outpost from the dawn of time, basically. It's an interesting idea. Now, if you really stop and think about it, it's like, well, okay, why don't you just go back to the beginning? Like, I guess I can kind of understand, testing everything at the Crimean War. And I do like that moment where it's like, and I wanted to ride a horse. Like, that's so stupid, but I do kind of like that. It's just a stupid answer. But yeah, it's like, I can understand testing it, but it sounded like they were going to go back to, like, every war in history and completely dominate humans, which is weird, because then if you go back further enough, I don't know, like, I guess there's a whole, like, maybe rules about, time interference that isn't quite clicking with their plan, but whatever, it's a simple plan, you understand it. And the fact that they're doing this during the Flux crisis, basically, is very interesting. It is a very interesting idea. That they would take advantage of the Flux. So I kind of like that, which honestly kind of reminds me a bit of Army of Ghosts and Doomsday, where the Cybermen in that episode, they there's the whole thing with the Void Ship. And they're like, oh, we don't know what the Void Ship is or what's in it or anything. We just followed the Void Ship here, basically. And then, come to find out, it's the Cult of Skaro, which that was a really good twist. And I kind of like, they kind of harken back to that here where, the Sontarans, they're not connected to the Flux. They didn't create it. They don't control it. None of that. But they basically saw it as a golden opportunity to attack the Earth. So I did kind of like that. It's an interesting idea for the Sontarans. And And yeah, the whole thing of, them going in and the parlay and stuff was very interesting. So yeah, and the whole thing of, doing it as a temporal offensive, which was very interesting, which is different for the Sontarans, at least from what I've seen, which we really haven't had them. We had the Sontarans in series 4, but then after that they really haven't, there haven't been a lot of them other than Strax, basically, just sort of being our one-off, our sort of rogue Sontaran ally, basically. But we haven't really had a Sontaran episode. So I like that it is different. It's not just, oh, they're here to attack and that's it. It's like, well, I like they're being clever about it. They do have this sort of, temporal plan, which is very interesting. Excuse me. And yeah, I don't know if they ever... I don't know. I haven't seen any classic Sontaran episodes. Wasn't there an episode of the Sarah Jane Adventures, though, that they were in? I want to say there was. It was like... Oh, no, it was the last Sontaran, wasn't it? Yeah. There was just one Sontaran, I think. But I don't remember that plot line at all. I just remember that was the episode where they got rid of Maria. Yeah. Because that was the beginning of season 2 of the Sarah Jane Adventures. Yeah. So... Now I want to go rewatch the Sarah Jane Adventures. Look at that. And they were never on Torchwood or anything. So, but it's a very interesting idea, and I like the sort of, again, if this was just an episode in series 11 or series 12, I think it would have worked just fine. Where the Sontarans basically have this plan, and then the gang gets separated. You could have Yaz and Graham in the present day, and the Doctor and Ryan in the past, and they do this sort of they coordinate against their temporal coordination, basically, which was interesting. And Dan, I must say, I'm really enjoying Dan, actually. It's very, very interesting having Dan, because he is... I think people have said he is a British comedian, but honestly, yeah, he is really, really funny, and I like the whole thing where he's just walking through, and again, for a guy who, from his perspective, it's only been a couple hours he's been dealing with this stuff, but he is going in, and he's going in to infiltrate and take down the Sontarans, and good on him. Boy's going in there with a wok and a phone to film things for the Doctor, and that's about it. But he's trying. He's really trying, and you gotta applaud him for that. So I did like that. It was really funny, actually. And yeah, the whole thing of once they did, they were able to talk to each other, and they were able to come up with something, and then bringing in Carvanista again. I like that, and yeah, I like the. I don't want to say chemistry, but it's just I don't know, just the dialogue between Dan and Carvanista I thought was really funny. So yeah, honestly, Dan is really working out as a companion. I think he's working out really well. So that's pretty cool. Okay, so we had the whole thing of Yaz has written on her hand WWTDD. What would the Doctor do? And okay, that's stupid. That is stupid, I think. For Yaz, who has been with us for over 2 seasons, she's been here for a while, She's been here for a while. She's been here since the 13th Doctor started out. And for her to write that on her hand, I'm trying to imagine, mainly the problem, I think, is because she's a long-running companion, because we've had, oh, well, we'll do what the Doctor does, taking inspiration from the Doctor when separated from her, and I get that, and that's fine. But this late in the game, for her to write that on her hand, okay, it's the fact that it's written on her hand I find the most stupid, Whereas, if she had just said, because that was when, the priest triangle basically comes up and is like, can you repair? And she's like, okay, if she had just said, okay, what would the Doctor do? Yes, I am here to repair, then that would that's fine. But the fact that she looks at her hand at a specific note that says, what would the doctor do? That is frankly stupid, honestly. For someone who's been there that long, like, can you imagine, like, Series 9, you know, Series 9, if Clara did that, you know? Like, no, she's been around long enough, or if Rose did that, you know? Even Rose, I feel like, you know, once you get into Series 2, if you did that with, like, Rose, I feel like that's... Or if Amy did that, you know, long-running companions, if they did that, that'd be the weirdest thing, you know? Like, oh, what would the doctor do? Like, I understand the thought behind that, but the fact that it's written on her hand is frankly stupid and just sort of weird for the character. I don't know. Maybe you... What do you guys think about that? I'm sure that's the thing you want to comment about most about this episode, but I'm curious what you guys said about that. In terms of the other stuff, I mean, we did have the general. I mean, this general, stubborn leader that he is, you know? Stubborn leader that he is, he just... I mean, stubborn leader, which I've seen this character... like 8 times in classic Doctor Who now. Not necessarily the sort of stubborn, you know, scientist or anything, but like the stubborn leader. We had actually just now, so when I'm recording this, about 4 minutes ago, our reaction to The Claws of Axos went up. And it kind of reminds me a bit of that. I mean, just sort of that, you know, brash leader is like, oh, we gotta attack, you know? We don't know, we must attack and stuff like that. This guy definitely, and then when he detonates the entire Sontaran fleet, you know, it's like, that was for the men that I lost. Like, you led them into that fucking battle. She was fucking negotiating, and you led them into their deaths, you know? I hope that poor fucking soldier that she had to, you know, paralyze, I hope they didn't find him, you know? I hope. I don't know. I mean, maybe not. They probably would have just seen... The Sontarans would have just, because they didn't, you know, then go and find the British hotel and everything, but they specifically just killed all the soldiers and then probably just went back because, you know, they had to do the refueling and stuff. So hopefully that guy's okay. But yeah, oh man, those poor fucking soldiers led into battle by a fucking stupid fucking blood-hungry commander. God damn it. Oh well. Other than that, I guess we've really covered everything. Again, a good episode, I will say. A good episode, perhaps a filler episode. We'll have to see, once we get through the entire story arc. We'll have to see if this really is filler or not. But at the moment, yeah, it does kind of feel like a filler. We didn't really learn anything. You know, we got a bit, you know, with the Mori and Swarm and the Planet of Time, but we're definitely going to get more of that next episode. So, yeah, bit of a filler, but that's not always a bad thing. You know, I still enjoyed it. It was still interesting. Fun enough Sontaran episode. So I will be curious to see where we are going next time. So, yeah. With all that being said, I'm Alex from 7th Hour Films, and I will see you guys next Saturday for Episode 3. See you guys there. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. There's a bunch of links on screen if you want to go click around to any of those. There's a playlist for all of my Doctor Who reactions, as well as another playlist for all of our classic Doctor Who reactions if you want to go check those out. There's also a subscribe button and a Patreon button on screen, as well as other links in the description if you want to go check out any of those. See you guys later.